Hey everyone, how's it going? Geek here, and today we're talking all about Arrow, my CW Flash fan game. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you guys on this. I never liked Arrow. Now wait a minute, let me explain. It's not that I disliked his show. Well, I guess it kinda is. But I really wasn't a fan of the portrayal of the character when I first saw him on the CW. Don't get me wrong, I love Green Arrow as a character. He's one of my mains in Injustice, he's one of my favorite characters in the cartoons, he's funny, he's got good stories, and let's be real. Anybody who can land Black Canary deserves our respect. But the CW version of the character was just never my cup of tea. When I first saw him, I just wasn't a fan, and I'll admit it, I didn't give the show a fair shot. I passed on it and eventually watched the CW Flash show where I got a proper introduction to the character through his frequent cameos in the earlier seasons. After seeing him in that show, I was willing to take a look back at the Arrow series to give it a shot. After all, I never gave it a fair go to begin with, and with me adding him into the CW Flash fan game, I felt I should at least watch a little of his series to get a good idea of how his playstyle should feel. Yeah, I still didn't really like it, but the game will turn out nice. Okay, so we've already talked about Arrow's gameplay style before, but I'll cover it again real fast so everyone's on the same page. Arrow will have two different gameplay styles depending on whether or not the bow is equipped. With the bow equipped, Arrow can freely fire different types of arrows to deal elemental damage. I'm also planning on Arrow having hard target lock when using the bow to make sure you can accurately hit your targets every time. Either that or some kind of ADS. When you unequip the bow, Arrow switches to a brawler playstyle inspired by the Arkham games. You'll have basic attacks, dodges, grabs, be able to counter incoming attacks. Initially I thought about giving Arrow finisher moves too, but felt that might be adding too much to his controls, so at the moment, those got cut, but they could come back if people really wanted them. So, now that everyone's caught up with how Arrow will play, what's new with the character? Well, like all other characters, Arrow's getting a completely new character model and animations, which is what I've been working on at the moment. I've been carefully recreating his costume over his updated model to try and get it as accurate as possible. Arrow's default look will be his Season 4 costume with exposed arms and ballistic vest. His Season 1 suit and his sleeved Season 5 suit will both be made into alternate costumes that will be immediately available to the player at the start of the game. Aside from those, Arrow will have several secret costumes that the player will need to unlock during gameplay. I don't want to spoil what costumes there are. I think it'd be more fun for the players to figure it out for themselves, but maybe I'll drop a hint for one that I'm including that I think is possibly my favorite alternate skin for Arrow out of the shows. Something else I wanted to address about Arrow, and this is a pretty big one, was movement speed. This is something fans of my channel have been talking about for a minute now. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll explain. Arrow is slow as and it pisses people off. Okay, maybe it's harsh, but that's the problem here. Arrow is a regular guy in a game focused on speedsters. He can't zoom around the city like they can, and that makes traveling around an open world kind of tedious if you play as Arrow. People suggesting adding a fast travel option for him to make it easier to get from point A to B, but I just can't get behind that idea, honestly. I'm one of those people that has to try and understand the logic of things behind what we see in the game, and fast travel was just immediately out of the question for me. I mean, what's this bitch doing for fast travel? Taking the bus? Is he catching an Uber or some shit? You guys are really out here making Arrow carpool to where he needs to go, and I don't like it, man. It's unbecoming of a superhero. I hope everyone knows that there will be a reference to Arrow taking an Uber in the finished game because of this video. Remember this. Somebody bookmark this shit. Seriously though, he needed a faster way to get around the city, and I think I found one. The Arrow Bike. Arrow has been shown to ride the Arrow Bike in his series, and it just makes sense that he'd have it for the game as his version of super speed. It'll be his way of keeping up with the speedster characters and getting around the city quickly. The bike will materialize in and out of the game whenever you use it, making it convenient to use and constantly accessible. So obviously if you're an Arrow fan, there's a ton to get excited about here. He's going to have some cool gameplay, some sweet attacks and combat mechanics, overall just a fun addition to the Flash fan game. Seems like a pretty straightforward episode for the channel, right? So why is the video titled like it is? Why does Arrow have an entire video dedicated to him when pretty much every other character has had to share the spotlight in previous videos? Well, let's face it, Arrow hasn't been given a whole lot of attention on this channel or in the fan game if we're being honest here. Now I'll admit that's partially on me. I've already admitted to not caring about the character that much, but the community never seemed that interested in him either. He barely got any votes for a minigame in the previous beta and seemed to be a character addition people just weren't too excited about. Definitely not as excited as people got for characters like Nora or Bart. So I decided it was time to give Arrow a chance and bring him up to the same level as the other characters. I'm really going all out to give him some fun and interesting gameplay mechanics to hopefully get people excited to play as him in the full game. Arrow's costume is probably going to take a while to get all the different pieces looking right and weight painted the way I want them to be. I'd argue his costume is the more complicated out of all the characters because of some of the minor details in it, but I'm making good progress. I hope you guys are excited about the character though. Hopefully all this new info on him makes people a little more excited to play the character. Definitely let me know what you think of him in the comments down below. Are you interested in how his playstyle is being designed? If not, what could be changed to make him more interesting? I'd love to get some feedback from you guys. Before we wrap up the video, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone in the community for all the birthday wishes I got in my DMs and on the server. You guys are awesome and I appreciate every one of you for being a part of the community and watching my videos. Thanks everyone. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave me a like and a comment down below. Also be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I'm thinking if the channel breaks 10,000 subs, a certain big-wheeled villain might have to make an appearance in the Flash fan game. Also be sure to join us over on Discord, link in the description box down below. If you could, consider joining the Patreon as well. The upcoming Patreon benefit of Atrocitus battling other Lantern Corps in space is coming along nicely, and I hope people are excited for it. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you all in the next one.